Okay, hi everybody. Welcome to our first talk for 2021. The title for today's talk is Identification of Children with Developmental Delays and Their Symptomatic Behaviors. Now, before I dive into our speaker for today, let me give you a brief introduction of who we are, BIMBING for Kids. We are an organisation that is under Gerakan Belia Sikh Malaysia, Gerakan Belia Sir Punjabi Malaysia, sorry. We are an affiliation of Majlis Belia Malaysia, and we consist of a group of young Malaysians who are professionals with a passion to give back to the community. Let me just go to the next slide. There we go. So we are an affiliation of Majlis Belia Malaysia. There are four main projects that is under Gerakan Belia Sir Punjabi Malaysia, and they are Dukung, Cawan Separuh Penuh, Young Leaders, and Bimbing. And so let me just give a brief introduction. Dukung is a targets B40 single mothers. And their first project was during Ramadan last year. Cawan Separuh Penuh aims to create an awareness about the underrepresented communities in Malaysia. Young Leaders focuses on 15 to 18-year-old youths, and their current project is called iShare, which is a digital literacy project. And then comes to where we are, which is Bimbing. Now, Bimbing consists of four main focus groups. The first is post-SPM series. We started in April, May this year, where we focused on different SPM series for students who just finished the SPM to give them an idea of what is out there waiting for them. The second group is called the mid-career. So different talks on mid-career. The third project that we have is retirement. So what can you do post-retirement? And the last one is Bimbing for Kids, which is this is our first stop for this year. We aim to educate parents and children and have many different activities. So we would really appreciate if you could follow us on our Instagram account. There is official GBSM and official Bimbing. We are also on Facebook and Twitter. Follow us and stay tuned for more events as such, because we are not only open to youth, but we are open to everybody, and it'll be nice to have everybody there. Thank you. Now let me go ahead and talk to you about our speaker. Our speaker today is Dr. Shyielathy Arumugam. She is a special education teacher with 13 years of field experience working in various national schools in Malaysia, and she's also a parent advocate. She is also an advisor for the National Family Support Group for Children and People with Special Needs. She holds a PhD in Early Childhood Special Education from University Pendidikan Sultan Idris, UPSI, in the year 2020. She has a great interest and passion for children and their educational rights and advocates for inclusive education. She developed the screening tool SYMBEST to identify children with symptomatic behavior to a disorder as a PhD research study collaborating with National Child Development Research Centre in UPSI. Her research tool aims to support early childhood education mainstream teachers, school administrators, and parents for early identification and behavior intervention in the mainstream setting. She has also written over 12 research articles and published 4 children picture books suitable for children with special needs. And I think she has recently released her 4th book. She's currently serving as a special education teacher in Sekolah Menengah Kebangsaan Datuk Haji Abdul Wahab in Sungai Siput. She's not only there's so many amazing things about her, but she also recently received an award. She received the Senior World Changer Award by Special Education Network and Inclusion Association on the 3rd of November 2020, and for 2021 she was the top 15 finalist of Cikgu Kickstart Award by Edification Malaysia. We are truly very honoured to have her here with us today. So without further ado, I pass the floor to Dr. Shyielathy for today's presentation. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear my voice clearly? Thank you, MC, for the introduction. I have nothing to introduce myself. That was a well and good introduction. Right, thank you for being with all of us here. Thank you to Bimbing for giving me this opportunity, inviting me to deliver today's talk. This is going to be more of a sharing based on my experience working with children for the last 13 years. So as the MC mentioned just now, I am a special education teacher and I've been working for the last 13 years in various national special education schools in different programs like I have worked in schools for children with visual impairment, and I've worked with autism. I've worked with slow learners, children with the ADD condition, and also ADHD. Right. So, from based on my experience for the past 13 years, I'm going to present to you, I'm going to share with you whatever that I know about the title, about the topic, and I saw the questions that the participants have posted through the Google form. So I have included. I have tried my level best to include, to answer, to address all the questions that you have posted. So let's dive into the topic. Allow me to share the slides for today. And the slides will be also shared with the participant later on after the talk, so that you can have a better look at it. Some of the links, some of the resources that I have included in the slides for guidance, as a guidance for parents and also teacher. And I hope to finish the presentation, the talk, in about 1 hour, 15 minutes. So if I go over that, please MC, please alert me. So I think we will be speaking in both Malay and English language to have a clear understanding of what of the topic. Right. Let me share the screen. So is the screen visible to everyone?
Yes, yes, it is.
Right. So as you can see on the screen, the topic of our discussion for today is how to identify children with developmental delays. And we will also look at symptomatic behaviors. Before I go on, okay, before we dive into the topic, I would like to highlight here that we're going to look at two major topics. One is identifying children with delays, and we're going to look at behavior. So these are actually two major topics which I have merged, and I have to compress it in 1.5 hours. So definitely I cannot give you the maximum, but surely you will leave with some important points for yourself, and that will actually encourage you to do more readings, more findings, more research about the topics that we are going to discuss today. So if I were to talk about identification of delays, I may need 3 hours. And if I talk about behaviors, I may need another 3 hours. So that's why I say that they both are topics by themselves. Now, that's a little bit about me. Okay, they are all my students, so I don't need to introduce myself. It is done well before. Now let us look at what we are supposed to know today. So say your child is just diagnosed. Okay, so you have identified some delays. Your child is not speaking, your child is not showing any attention, your child is not responding to name call, and you have seen some kind of symptoms that indicates the child might be delayed, or people around you are highlighting to you that hey, he or she is already 3-year-old but not speaking, not uttering any word, not paying attention, being very hyper, and so on. And then parents bring the child to a pediatrician or to a doctor to have a diagnosis, and you got your diagnosis. Now, as soon as parents get their diagnosis, their major number one question will be what to do next. What's next? Doctors might have said a lot about, what about the condition of your child upon the diagnosis. So, what to do next? That will be your biggest question. You might have a lot of questions. One of the main question will be what to do next. So what to do next is parents have to have a handful of knowledge in order to help the children. Okay, we will address the parents first and we'll go to the teachers. I believe the audience today are mainly parents. and also some teachers, or could be also some other professionals from some other fields as well, some other related fields as well, psychologists or maybe therapists and so on. So always remember, I always like to remind parents that whatever the label, whatever the diagnosis of your child, forget about the label, think what to do next. Okay, why? Because I always believe not the doctors, not the teachers, not the therapists, but you, the parents. You will be the first therapist and also the first teacher for your child. Then comes the teachers, then comes the other therapists. So it's about you. How you going to handle the situation, how you perceive the news of the diagnosis. So the first thing that you need to do is you have to arm yourself with enough knowledge. So one of it is knowing about child growth and also child development. Okay, this is for category of parents who already have the diagnosis. What about those parents who have not really have the proper diagnosis, the clinical diagnosis, but you already see some symptoms? Okay, and people around you is also highlighting. Maybe you have sent the child to school. Teachers are also highlighting, hey, the child is not behaving as a typical child. The child is immature for her age. So this is also going to be a very good time for you to know about child growth and development. Knowing child growth and development will actually help you to recognize or to know whether your child is growing optimally or not. Okay, so what is development? Basically, before we begin, we need to know what is child development. Just like human development, okay, we are born and then we start to talk and then we start to walk, we start to move, we start to, that's how human development occurs. Same goes to child development. So when we talk about development or child development, basically development is progressive. It is orderly and also involves the acquisition of many skills and ability as the child grow. So, ia adalah satu perkembangan ya yang berlaku secara progresif. Progresif maksudnya secara berperingkat juga melibatkan aspek-aspek seperti pemerolehan kemahiran semasa kanak-kanak itu membesar. Now, what are the changes that occurs? Biological changes, psychological changes, emotional changes, and all this happens between birth to the conclusion of adolescence. Daripada masa seorang kanak-kanak itu lahir sampailah dewasa. Okay, so itu basically a general understanding about what development is. Now, look at this. There are basically about 5 periods of human development. Okay, 5 periods of human development. So our concern, which is much related to our topic of discussion today, is the first 3. So we have the infancy period, we have the early childhood period, we have the middle childhood period, we have the early adolescence and the late adolescence. Now, most of the time, the delays in children will be identified or can be noticed from the period of infancy, which means if you have the knowledge of child growth and child development according to the developmental domains as early as 6 months old, parents can actually see some symptoms. Okay, that if you have the knowledge about child growth and development. Okay, otherwise, the most visible or the most crucial period for identifying delays based on their behaviors will be the early childhood period, that is from 2 to 6 years old, which means if parents fail to notice the delays, the indication, the symptoms, okay, by 2 years old, okay, say maybe it's not clear or parents are not aware, or maybe some parents thinks that, okay, boys talks later than girls, okay, boys grow such a girl, boys development is always a bit delayed compared to girls, all this kind of mythos and everything. By 3-year-old to 4-year-old, all those, if the child is really delayed, all the symptoms, all the indications will be seen clearly. later I am going to show you, I'm going to give you some examples what I mean by typical behavior and atypical behavior or symptomatic behavior. Then the middle childhood. If you fail to see the symptoms, or if you still deny the symptoms at the early childhood, at the middle childhood, all the symptoms are clearly visible, undeniable. Okay, you cannot deny it at all. It is so clearly visible. At 7-year-old, the child do not have the maturity of a 7-year-old mentally, emotionally, socially, cognitively, and in many other domains as well. Right? And then if you again fail, then it affects their early adolescence, and it also affects their late adolescence. The child will grow up without having any intervention to help the child to improve the condition that the child is going through. Right? So basically, I hope you understand so far. Now, next is, let us look at what it means by developmental delays. Okay, when we talk about delays, it's actually a group of conditions due to certain impairment in physical, learning, language, or behavior areas. So these conditions actually begins during the developmental period. That means from infancy, from early childhood, middle childhood, okay, basically infancy and early childhood, and which may impact the day-to-day functioning. That means everyday functioning of the child, of the person, and usually it lasts throughout a person's lifetime. Okay, it lasts throughout a person. What I mean to say is, it is not a disease. So when it is a disease, definitely you can get medicated. Okay, there will be a medicine for us to improve. Okay, since it is not a disease, it is a condition. That condition lasts throughout a person's lifetime. But how severe the condition depends on how early we intervene the child. Okay, sometimes the early intervention helps the child to improve, and as the child grows, the child will be almost to a typical child, almost to a typical person. Okay, that means there's not much of impact in a day-to-day functioning of the child. So it all depends on how fast parents act, how fast we detect, and how fast we intervene the impairment or the conditions that the person or the child is having. Okay, so child develops basically. Sometimes some parents will ask, how to decide whether it is a typical development or a symptomatic development, because we know that children develop at their own pace. Right? So it is, yes, it's true. It is very impossible to tell exactly when a child will learn a given skill. Right? So some might say, oh, my child is just delayed a little bit compared to his or her peers of the same age. For instance, a child of 2-year-old, not really speaking, but the same another child of the same age is already speaking, is already communicating. So parents might say, he or she is just 2 years old. Maybe he needs a little bit more time. Maybe because we all are working and there's nobody to talk to the child. Maybe there's no other children to talk to the child. All this kind of, these are all reasonable, how do I say? It is reasonable, whatever that, all these kind of reasons that parents give is actually reasonable from a perspective of a parents. Now, we are going to look at if the child is delayed, how delayed the child. 6 months difference between, between another child of the same age, still accepted. Okay, but if it is 1 year delay, then it is not accepted. Clearly, that it is a sign that the child is going through some kind of developmental delay, which we don't know what the delay is actually, right? So the developmental milestones, how to know this, how to know whether my child is delayed to what extent, based on the developmental milestones. Okay, so this knowing the developmental milestone comes under growth, child growth and development. So knowing this milestone, it actually gives a general idea of the changes to expect as the child grow older, right? At 2-year-old, in terms of language and communication, what are the skills my child should achieve by now? Okay, or in the aspect of social and emotion, what are the skills okay, my child should be or expected to achieve by now. So this knowledge you will only, this keeping track, you will only get it through the developmental milestone. Where to get the developmental milestone? Banyak di internet. Type saja developmental carta perkembangan kanak-kanak, atau just put it in English, developmental milestone of a child from birth to 2-year-old, from 2 to 3 years old, from 3 to 4 years old, 4 to 5 years old. You will get it. Just select the ones that is easier for you to follow through. Okay, don't go for the ones which is very clinical. Just take something that is very in a very layman language where parents can understand, teachers can understand, and so on. So the most common presentation of a developmental delay is failure. Okay, failure to achieve the age appropriate developmental milestone. If you keep track of the milestone chart, and you see that your child is not achieving what he or she is supposed to achieve at his or her age, that means it is an indication that your child is delayed. Okay, but how delayed? We do not know. That you need to go for a clinical assessment and so on. So what I mean by delay, they may have delays in language, social and learning skills, while their ability to walk and move around are about the same as the other children of their age. Okay, sometimes they are able to move, they are able to walk, they are able to crawl, they are able to do physically, they are able, they have achieved, they have reached they have attained or achieved the milestones of physical development, but they are delayed in language, they are delayed in social, they are delayed in learning skills or cognitive or adapted skills and so on. Adapted skills means independency, okay? Self-help skills and so on. So besides that, another example I can give, they might be very good at putting puzzles together or solving computer problems, but they might have trouble with social activities like talking or making friends, okay, or having what do you call that, play group, doing dramatic play with other children, which supposed to be natural and normal in a typical development. Okay, now let's move on. We are still under the developmental delay. So another thing I would like to highlight here, when a child is delayed, or what I mean is child development in one domain will have a direct bearing on their attainments of other domains. So when we look at the milestones, the developmental milestones, the domains and everything, traditionally or typically, infants, toddlers, preschoolers, okay, are expected to develop skills and behaviors that are typical to their peers and culture. So the indication or the benchmark will be another child. We would always look at another child to compare. Okay, that child, 2-year-old, 3-year-old, or 3-year-old child, and my child is also 3-year-old. Are their developmental progress almost same? About 3 to 4 months delay, that's all right, because some children are born in January, some children are born in middle of the year, some children are born end of the year. That's why I say give and take about 6 months, okay, of differences, that's okay. But the differences is more than a year, then that is a delay. And then when there's a delay in one domain, there will be definitely a delay in other. That means there will be an impact on the other domain. For instance, okay, if you can recall, I just said that there may not be a delay in physical, but the child might be delayed in language communication, social emotional, cognitive, and so on. So when developmental skills are delayed beyond the family and culture norms, so the child and his or her family can experience problems as a result. Okay, now next. Let us see. Is my child growing optimally every now and then? Okay, parents need to observe for this. Mengenal pasti kelewatan perkembangan. Adakah anak saya sedang berkembang secara mengikut domain perkembangan ataupun mengikut carta perkembangan? How to know? That's what I said. You have to self-educate. Okay, sekarang di dunia digital ni, everything is everything is so easy to acquire. Tekan saja kunci-kunci di laptop. Okay, Google up saja, semua kita dah dapat. Everything is there. Okay, everything is so available freely, unlike some years ago, unlike 20 years ago. Okay, 20 years ago and now is not same. Now we have a lot of resources available and it is so easy to reach all those resources. Okay, and it is also free. So the first thing is you have to self-educate yourself. What it means, what I mean by self-educating yourself also goes to teachers. Cikgu-cikgu pun kena tahu perkembangan kanak-kanak, domain-domain perkembangan kanak-kanak. Apakah milestone perkembangan kanak-kanak di bawah setiap domain itu. Okay, so cikgu pun kena tahu. Kenapa cikgu kena tahu? Bila cikgu tahu apakah itu milestone, apakah perkembangan-perkembangan kanak-kanak mengikut umur mereka, maka pengajaran dan pembelajaran di sekolah boleh dilakukan berdasarkan kepada perkembangan kanak-kanak itu. Tak susah, tak senang. Okay, just nice for the development. It is just developmentally appropriate for the child. Okay, so when I say self-educate, the first thing is you need to know. At this point of time, anak belum lagi pergi sekolah, baru diagnose, apa knowledge yang ibu bapa perlu ada? Knowledge about child growth and development. Mesti ada. Okay, mesti ada. So what are some rules? These are the some rules of thumb to recognize the delay. Okay, pengetahuan tentang perkembangan kanak-kanak ini adalah asas untuk mengenal pasti kelewatan perkembangan. Okay, so ibu bapa perlu ketahui milestone, carta milestone perkembangan kanak-kanak. So apabila ibu bapa ni nampak ada berdasarkan sudah rujuk kepada carta itu, nampak okey anak saya 2 tahun dari aspek fizikal dia okey, dari aspek language and communication 2 tahun masih lagi tak capai, masih lagi tak tunjuk objek, masih lagi tak toleh kepada saya bila saya panggil, nampak ada simptom-simptom itu, terus rujuk kepada milestone kanak-kanak. Okey, betul ke 2 tahun? Macam ni ke perkembangan anak-anak dari aspek bahasa? Okey, macam ni ke perkembangan anak-anak 2 tahun dari aspek sosial dan emosi? Begini ke perkembangan anak-anak dari aspek kognitif? Cepat-cepat rujuk kepada carta milestone itu. Kemudian bila kita kata milestone ni, dia ada 4 domain perkembangan kanak-kanak yang utama ya. Cuba lihat yang warna biru tu. Motor development, perkembangan fizikal. Di bawah motor development atau perkembangan fizikal, kita ada 3 cabang, okay? 3 division, that is sensory and perceptual. Perkembangan sensori dan persepsi, fine motor, gross motor. Ini adalah 3 division, 3 peringkat ataupun 3 kategori di bawah motor development, di bawah perkembangan motor. Kemudian kita ada language and communication. Okay, perkembangan bahasa dan komunikasi. And then kita ada domain kognitif dan creativity. Kemudian kita ada domain social and emotional. So, kalau ibu bapa ada pengetahuan atau cikgu juga, kadang-kadang ibu bapa anak umur 2 tahun, 3 tahun, they send children to preschools. Besides parents, parents are seeing the children every day. Okay, due to the parents' instinct, the feeling of a parents, okay, they could be in denial. But when the parents, okay, some might say, antarlah pergi sekolah, nanti dia dia ada kawan, nanti dah ada kawan, bolehlah bercakap. It's very normal common remarks we get from people around us, and it's not wrong to accept all those comments, okay? It's not wrong to accept all those ideas, but don't delay and don't wait. If after sending the child to school, the child dalam masa 6 bulan masih tak boleh lagi bercakap, maka jangan tunggu. Okey, jangan lagi tunggu dan dengar apa yang orang-orang sekeliling kita cakap. Okey, so ibu bapa bila ada pengetahuan tentang perkembangan kanak-kanak ini, kenapa saya tekankan ibu bapa sebab ibu bapa lah orang pertama anak-anak kita jumpa. Okey, so kalau anda sebagai ibu bapa sudah ada pengetahuan tentang perkembangan kanak-kanak ini, usia seawal 6 bulan sahaja, okey, kita dah boleh lihat simptom-simptom perkelewatan perkembangan. Selain daripada kita, okay, besides parents, besides parents, nowadays klinik kesihatan, they are also very alert on this. Klinik kesihatan, every time you bring your child for regular checkup, they will be asking you some questions. If you have failed to notice that before, okay, lepas ini tolong tengoklah kalau tak ada anak sendiri ke, anak sendiri dah melepasi umur itu, ada nephew nieces ke, okay, pergi bersama mereka, cuba tuan-tuan dan puan-puan tengok, lihat, dengar apakah agaknya assessment yang sedang dilakukan oleh nurse. Nurse akan tanya banyak soalan yang berkaitan dengan perkembangan kanak-kanak berdasarkan kepada instrumen yang kita panggil MCHAT. Okay, mana nak cari instrumen ini? Ni buku rekod kanak-kanak. Okay, kalau anak lelaki warna biru, kalau anak perempuan warna merah. Dalam buku rekod kanak-kanak ini ada senarai semak perkembangan kanak-kanak. Kalau ada lagi bolehlah Sela tengok. Saya rasa muka surat 37 kalau tak silap saya. Okay, lebih kurang macam ini. Okay, lebih kurang macam ini dia punya bentuk dia. Senarai semak dalam bentuk checklist. Okay, setiap kali kita pergi untuk inspection, nurse akan tanya, apa yang anak dah boleh menyarap ke, anak dah boleh merangkak ke, okay, anak dah boleh respon pada apabila panggil nama ke, okay, anak ada eye contact ke. Nurse akan tanya soalan-soalan seperti ini. Okay, kalau tak nak tunggu nurse, ibu bapa pun boleh terus check dekat sini. Andai kata nampak macam ada sedikit macam ada sedikit simptom-simptom, ibu bapa pun boleh. Senang saja guna MCHAT dalam buku ni. Okay, so next is we're going to move on. Okay, this is developmental milestone. Okay, kalau tak nak guna buku ini, satu website yang very reliable. Okay, a very reliable website or source that we can also refer to is the CDC milestone tracker. Now, what is milestone? Now, what is developmental milestone? They are skills such as taking the first step, smiling for the first time, waving bye-bye. These are all called developmental milestones. And these milestones actually reflect what most children can do by a certain age. Okay, kalau tak nak guna MCHAT ni, buku ni, boleh, ataupun nak guna yang ini, but at the same time you want to have another resource to refer to. Okay, sometimes we parents ibu bapa selalunya tak settle, not satisfied with one reference. We want another reference or possible 3-4 references to convince us that what is happening is real, is true. So if you want the other reliable source that you can actually refer to is this one, CDC milestone tracker. You can just download the app also with your smartphone and so on. Okay, saya dah screenshot dan letak dekat situ. Okay, you can actually go and refer to it. It is quite reliable, very simple also, easy to follow, and the items are also not very confusing. Boleh faham lah, can understand. Now, next is some tips. Okay, now I said delays, right? Then I also said just now, by 6 months, you are able to identify. Okay, by 6 months, you are able to identify. If you know the child growth development, you know the milestones under each domains, by 6 months, if there is a delay, okay, you are able to identify. Now, how? I'm going to give you some examples. These are all only a few examples. Definitely, I cannot, there's more than this. Tapi, saya tak dapatlah nak listkan satu-satu. Untuk hari ini, saya ambil yang paling I would say crucial and sering kita lihat di dalam kalangan babies or anak-anak. The first thing is face recognition and also stranger anxiety. Nah, apa itu face recognition and stranger anxiety? Now, if we refer to sensory and perceptual milestone, sensory and perceptual comes under motor development. Remember just now I showed the slide on domains of development. So this comes under motor development. So under the sensory and perceptual development, infants by 3 months, not 6 months, as early as 3 months, they are able to recognize mother's face. Okay, they are able to recognize mother's face, and by 6 months, okay, they recognizes most of the unfamiliar faces in his or her environment. This is the typical development of a child age 6 months. Okay, 3 months boleh kenal muka ibu, dan by 6 months boleh kenal Siapa muka yang selalu dia tengok ada di rumah, siapa mana-mana individu muka-muka dia yang jarang-jarang dia tengok atau tak pernah tengok sebelum ini. So that's why kita sering lihat bayi berumur 6 bulan ke atas, okay, mereka akan menangis bila orang yang jarang jumpa nak carry dia. Bila ada tetamu baru datang, tetamu muka tu dia tak pernah tengok langsung. Bila ada tetamu baru tu, belum lagi nak letak tangan macam ni, nak angkat dia sudah nangis. Itu maksud stranger anxiety. If that child cries, that means that is a typical development. Tetapi jika baby tidak menunjukkan, okay, apa-apa reaksi apabila orang yang tak dikenali carry, baby diam saja. Dia tengok muka orang tu dia diam, dia tengok muka ibu pun dia diam, tak ada reaksi. So apa ibu bapa akan sangka? Kebanyakan ibu bapa akan kata, oh my child is very friendly. He or she goes to everyone. Such a bubbly baby, such a friendly child. Okay, he doesn't cry, she doesn't cry. Maka itu mungkin, saya tak kata tetap. I'm not saying definite, I'm saying that could be one indication that ataupun simptom yang anak mungkin ada kelewatan perkembangan. Be alert. Bila nampak saja macam itu, try the situation. Okay, try dengan beberapa orang yang lain. Bagi tengok ada tak anak menangis, ada tak anak even before, sepatutnya sebelum nak pergi nampak saja muka yang tak familiar tu, anak kena menangis. That means the child can recognize faces that is not unfamiliar in his environment. That is one tips I can give you. Okay, moving on. Visual tracking skills. Visual tracking skills ni as early as 7 weeks sudah ada. Kemahiran ini as early as 7 weeks sudah ada. Apa itu? Ability to move the head and eyes to follow moving object. Bila mak lalu, dia pun ikut mak. Dia pun turn and see the mother. Okay, usually the mother. Bapa tu lambat sikit lah. Okay, but the first, when the mom comes into the room, the child will be able to track. Child will be able to move the head and eyes to follow the mommy. That's one. It can be also objects. So at only about few weeks of age, okay, baby can show her mastery of this skill if the object is at the proper distance. Okay, contohnya, okay, kita letak mainan-mainan, baby menyarap, okay, the child is on the the child is lying on the bed, and then we use some rattles, some colorful things, and then we just play around with the child. The child will be able to, okay, the child will try to cuba untuk angkat tangan dia untuk capai ataupun bagi reaksi dan sebagainya when it is at the proper distance. Okay, baby ni tak boleh nampak banyak sangat lah as soon as they are born. To certain distance only they can see their visual skills at the early weeks. To certain extent only they can see. So when the objects are at the proper distance, they will be able to capai. Okay, kemahiran capai. Kemahiran capai ni berkait rapat dengan visual tracking skills. Then by end of 2 months, okay, baby seeing an object beyond her reach can actually prompt her to reach for it as early as 2 months. Okay, ini semua adalah satu indication when you have some sounds, when you are showing something, the child is not reacting to you. I'm not saying definitely there is a delay, but something you need to observe further. Okay, so if you know, you already have the skills, you already know about child development and so on, that will actually help you to observe. Okay, that will actually help you to observe more of the development of your child. And then let us look at auditory skills. These are also one indication. Can give you an idea. Can alert you if the child is at the development delay. If the child is a delayed child or a typical child. Okay, you see, generally children can actually hear better than they can see. Okay, at the first week of their life. And that's why if you see, they can be startled like this when loud noises. Ada bunyi-bunyi yang kuat, kita nampak budak buat macam ini kan. Sedang tidur, okay, nicely sleeping, okay, in a deep sleep, suddenly there's a slight sound, the child will startle like this. This is a typical development. And then they can also turn their head when there's a soft sound or when there's, when the mommy calling, okay, when the mommy calling Amin, Adil, okay, the child can actually turn and towards the soft sound. This is a typical development. Then they can also respond to sound that differ. Bunyi yang kuat, loudness, bunyi yang berpanjangan, okay? Bunyi daripada posisi-posisi tertentu, the direction, the frequency, okay? Kelangsingan bunyi itu, the pitch, bunyi yang nyaring, bunyi yang rendah dan sebagainya. The child can respond to all these sounds. Now, finally, we will look at the language indication. Okay, basically, children can respond to babies. They can respond to human speech and phonological aspects of language. Okay, that's why by end of 3 months, they actually enjoy playing and respond to mother's voice. Bila mak sedang bercakap, dia pun akan sambut seolah-olah dia sedang jawab pada mak dia. The cooing sound and all this. Ini adalah development yang typical, antara development yang typical. And by 1 year, actually a child can say words like mama, dada, and then can also imitate words spoken by adults, like when we say oh, they can also imitate and say oh, things like that. And they also can gesture like no. Okay, when mommy say no, please don't take that, they will also no, they can do that, they can gesture that, okay, no, and they can say bye. These are all listed in the MChat. Okay, ini adalah antara features perkembangan yang typical. And another one important thing is joint attention. Apa itu joint attention? I give you an example. Contoh, anak nak bola. Bola itu berada di tempat yang sangat tinggi. Okay, anak tak boleh ambil kan? The child cannot reach. So, anak nak ibu ambilkan. So what the child does? Anak cue sambil dia tunjuk bola. Anak cue, tunjuk bola sambil dia berpaling kepada bola. Dia lihat bola, dia tunjuk bola, kemudian dia lihat bola itu, dia lihat ibu dia dan dia lihat bola itu semula. So anak mula akan ada joint attention bila there's a spelling mistake there. Okay, anak mula akan ada joint attention somewhere around 9 months. That means joint attention ini tunjuk sesuatu objek, tengok kepada objek itu, tengok kepada ibu sebab ibu yang kena ambil, kemudian tengok balik kepada objek dan tengok balik kepada ibu. It can be milk bottle, it can be a biscuit, it can be anything. And this development, these skills develop in children as early as 9 months, dan by 18 bulan sudah develop secara penuh. 18 bulan itu lebih 1 tahun, 1.5 years, more than 1.5 years, right? Lebih kurang lah. 1.5 years. Okay, 1 bulan, 1 tahun, 6 bulan, almost develop. Okay, sudah develop joint attention ini. This one we need to keep track on children. Now, so it is very important. If you want to know the delays, you want to know the symptoms of the delays, you have to monitor the child development and growth from birth. Itu tidak bermaksud saya nak tuan-tuan lihat anak yang baru lahir ataupun anak-anak yang toddler ni dengan kacamata delay. I'm not asking you to do that. What I'm asking you to see is know the developmental of the child, know the growth, and have knowledge on the milestone, and then keep track. Okay, just observe adakah anak-anak kita memenuhi, mencapai milestone yang ditetapkan di bawah perkembangan. And then of course MChat. Why I emphasize on MChat? That is so easily available to you. Everyone has this at home. Okay, it is so available and senang nak tengok pun. Tak perlu belajar psikologi ke, tak perlu belajar special education ke, tak perlu semua tu. Biasa, benda yang biasa. Senarai sema ni pun mudah faham. It's there. Okay, it is so handy. So tak sure, go back to the MChat. Refer to the MChat. And then it is also in bahasa Melayu, mudah faham. Ayat-ayat dia pun ringkas-ringkas sahaja. Now, some of you have addressed a few, before we move on to the developmental screening, we will look at kategori murid keperluan khas ataupun anak keperluan khas lah. Yang ini saya ambil kategori ini di bawah Kementerian Pendidikan. That means JKM have got a different category Okay, listing. KPM have got a different listing. KPM punya listing adalah untuk keperluan penempatan sekolah, for school enrollment. Okay, so basically under KPM we have 6 categories of children or students with special needs. The first one is visual impairment, kurang upaya penglihatan, kurang upaya pendengaran. Okay, hearing impairment. Penglihatan dan pendengaran ini kita boleh detect when the child is born. As soon as the child is born, doktor dah memang detect. Penglihatan mungkin lebat sedikit, mungkin by 3 months. Okay, bila nampak tadi saya dah bagi tahu beberapa simptom, beberapa perkembangan tipikal di bawah auditory kan. Kalau ada kekangan di situ, ada delay di situ, by 3 months the doctor will be able to detect if the child has auditory impairment or not. Okay, dua ini memang sangat visible lah. The third category is pertuturan, speech delay. And then the physical. Physical is also quite visible at the very early stage. Okay, bukan sesuatu yang dipanggil hidden disability. Okay, and secondly, masalah pembelajaran. Okay, what is masalah pembelajaran? Autism, ADHD, ADD, okay, global developmental delay, GDD, Down syndrome, slow learners, dyslexia, okay? Semua ini termasuk di bawah masalah pembelajaran under the category of learning difficulties. And under learning difficulties, Down syndrome it's not coming under the hidden disability, because seperti mana penglihatan, pendengaran dan fizikal, Down syndrome pun boleh didetect, boleh nampak as soon as the child is born. Okay, then the sixth one is keupayaan pelbagai, or something we name it and we call it as multiple disability. Now, what is multiple disability? Okay, kehadiran lebih daripada satu ketidakupayaan. That means the child have speech delay with autism. That means the child comes under multiple disability. The child have visual impairment with ADHD, for instance. Okay, the child comes under multiple disability. A child with Down syndrome is also diagnosed with physical disability. Then the child comes under multiple disability. Okay, that's what it means. Okay, so there are basically about 6 categories, main categories listed under Kementerian Pendidikan. Now, with that, we will move on to defining symptomatic behaviors. Okay, so why I wanted to include this in this talk today? Many have asked, okay, how do these behaviors, okay, even a typical child screams, shouts, gets angry, and so on. But how can we decide, or how we can say that, how different is that behavior with another typical child's behavior? A typical child also does it. So why are we saying this child is delayed when the same behavior this child is doing, or this child is showing to us? Now, what are the important points to remember when we want to define symptomatic behaviors? The first thing, memang betul, semua behavior ini kanak-kanak normal pun buat. Tapi apa perbezaan dia? Persistent. Okay, kelanjutan. Okay, adakah behavior itu berlanjutan untuk satu jangka masa? Contohnya, sekurang-kurangnya 3 bulan. Persistent of the behavior over a considerable period of time. You see the behavior persist for at least 3 times. Even when we are screening, when we are doing early identification, when we are doing clinical screening, doctors will ask how long the child has been like this, how long the child is delayed, how long the child is showing this repetitive behaviors and so on. The doctor will ask, because only that will decide, okay, whether it is a typical behavior or a symptomatic behavior. And then the frequency of the behavior, berapa kerap perlakuan itu berlaku. The child is flapping the hand. Okay, berapa kerap? Dalam seminggu berapa kali dia buat? Okay, dalam sehari berapa kali dia buat? Dalam sehari itu untuk situasi-situasi apa dia menunjukkan tingkah laku tersebut? These are the key points to differentiate between a typical behavior and a symptomatic behavior. Bukan behavior itu. Bukan maksudnya anak autism memang suka jerit. Anak autism memang agresif. Anak autism memang suka makan benda-benda yang tak sepatutnya dimakan. It's not that. It's not the behavior. It's the exaggeration of the behavior. Okay? So this behavior can manifest in variety of ways. Like what? Aggression towards self, others, and things. Okay, and then some oppositional behaviors looks like avoiding tasks, refuse to comply, and then some repetitive movements of patterns, activities that distract the child and may appear to have no purpose. Okay, contohnya looking at spinning objects. Okay, there's no purpose for the child to look at the spinning objects. Flapping hands, no purpose. Jumping up and down, there's no purpose for the child to do it, but the child is doing it. It's a repetitive movement. And then when there's a task given, dropping down to the ground. Tak nak buat kerja, jatuhkan badan. Okay, and nak angkat tu memang sangat susah lah bila dia jatuhkan badan tu. Yelling, screaming, crying, whining, and also many other different kind of behaviors. These are all some common ones that I have picked up. But actually ada banyak lagi. Dan semua ini pun betul. Anak normal pun buat. Tapi apa perbezaan? Kita nak menentukan. We have a doubt. When the doctor says that your child has autism, your child has ADD, your child has ADHD, and the doctor gives all this kind of key points. Okay, these are the behaviors that the child is showing. You might have a doubt. Okay, don't tell me that a typical child wouldn't do all these behaviors. Yes, but to clear your doubts, go back again and see if those behaviors, the behaviors that your child is showing, do you see a persistent pattern? Adakah ia berlanjutan? Kalau ia, berapa lama? Adakah dia berlaku secara kerap? Kalau ia, berapa kali? Look, go back, keep track, okay, check back. Kalau nak clear doubt, check back on that part. Okay, now let us look at the behavioral symptoms of learning difficulties. Okay, bila saya tengok balik soalan-soalan yang telah diajukan oleh tuan-tuan dan puan-puan, okay, saya nampak kebanyakan daripada soalan itu adalah daripada yang berkaitan dengan hidden disabilities. Okay, apa ini hidden disabilities? Macam saya cakap tadi ya, visual impairment, we can see it clearly. Hearing impairment pun boleh detect awal-awal lagi sejak lahir. Down syndrome can be seen very clearly. Physical disabilities can be seen very clearly, but children diagnosed with autism, ADD, ADHD, GDD, all this, okay, that means not under the multiple disability category, ya. Nampak normal, sangat handsome, sangat cantik, they look so normal, physically, biologically, physical appearance, they look so normal. These are what we call as hidden disabilities. Okay, ketidakupayaan itu tak nampak secara jelas. It is not clearly visible. Okay, that's why we name it as hidden disabilities. So these hidden disabilities are recognized through the behavioral symptoms. Okay, right? So that's why I say behavioral symptoms of learning difficulties. Now, I have picked up some general ones, okay, which maybe some of you have experienced with your own children. Okay, the first one, not responding to their name by 12 months. Umur 12 tahun, anak 6 bulan pun anak bila panggil nama dia akan toleh. Sekurang-kurangnya 5 kali panggil, 2 kali dia akan toleh, 6 bulan. By 12 months old, the child definitely knows his or her name. And at one call, okay, panggil nama Amin, cepat he or she will turn and look at you. Okay, if he is not responding, then there's something. Maybe it could be hearing, or it could be hidden disability. It could be autism, ADD, ADHD, it can be anything. Okay, not pointing at object to show interest. Point at an aeroplane that is flying. Okay, kadang-kadang kita bawa anak keluar, okay, ada aeroplane, the child will say, hey look, aeroplane. Walaupun sebutan itu tak berapa clear. Kalau nampak burung, bird, you know, by 14 months, the child is not doing that. The child is not showing interest. The child is not pointing to all those things. Do not have pretend play, or do not play pretend games or pretend to feed the doll, main masak-masak. By 18 months, the child must be able to do this. The child must be able to, walaupun tak bermain dengan kumpulan rakan-rakan yang lain, tapi bila kita bagi objek mainan, okay, dia boleh main sebab dia tengok. Okay, she or he imitates. He watches the mommy cooking in the kitchen. When the child has a container, the child pretend. Okay, and so on. If there's a baby in the house, okay, the child sees the mommy feeding the child or feeding the younger sibling. By 18 months old, the child will be able to imitate all this. That's why we say as pretend play. And then avoid eye contact and always want to be alone. Okay, tak nak ada hubungan mata. Okay, tak nak, do not want to make a eye contact with anyone that is around, and always want to be alone. Okay, isolation. tak nak bergaul, nak bersendirian. Okay, having trouble understanding other people's feelings or talking about their own feelings. Okay, by 3 years old, 2.5 years old, 3 years old, very very clever in understanding people's feeling, and they can also talk. Okay, am I sad? You know, why I'm crying? My mommy asks, why you're crying? I'm crying because my brother took my doll, or things like that. Will be, you know, they can articulate, although not in full sentences, although not so clear, but they are able to express, right? And then have speech delay and language skills. Okay, by 4 years the child is not speaking, or the child is just saying one word. Okay, susu, biscuit, that is not normal at all, right? By 2 years old, the child is able to say things like, don't bite me, even though not so clear. Some children, you know, they can articulate well, the vocabularies, the pronunciation is good. But even if it is not good, but if they are able to say it, then they are not delayed. But by sampai umur tahun pun tak dapat nak sebut ayat-ayat yang pendek, tak dapat nak express dia punya feeling, tak dapat nak request apa yang dia nak, then definitely there is a delay in speech and language. And then because they are delayed, right? 4-year-old, 3-year-old, 3+, they are delayed. What they do, they repeat words. They catch 1-2 words. For instance, baby, and they repeat that word, or they repeat their phrases, whatever that they hear from TV, whatever that they hear in their environment. Okay, they repeat that phrases over and over and over. That is, we call it as echolalia. Okay, tak ada maksud, meaningless, and it is not according to the context also, even if he or she says the phrases and so on. And then sometimes when you ask questions, they give unrelated answers to the question. Okay, they get upset by minor changes, right? They have to follow the routine. Kalau ada sedikit gangguan, pertukaran dalam rutin, anak tu tak boleh accept. Okay, there's no flexibility. Normal children, typical children, when you explain to them, okay, we are not going to the field right now because it is raining. You can see clearly that it is raining, so we are not able to. We cannot go to the padang. The typical child will understand, because the child can resonate. The child can see, look at the sky. Okay, look at outside. Yeah, it's raining. I will get wet. I cannot go. But a child with delay may not be able to understand. We cannot go because it is raining. Okay, to him or her, it is a change of routine. My routine is not fulfilled. Every day I go to the field at this time, but today I'm not going. Okay, and parents will have a lot of problems settling that. And then they have obsessive interest. Okay, asyik, sangat asyik dengan sesuatu objek. Okay, nak main dengan objek itu saja. Pergi mana-mana pun nak bawa objek itu saja. Kalau tak ada objek itu, tak bolehlah hari itu. Kalau andai kata objek itu hilang, it can be anything lah, a pillow, it can be their pacifier, it can be one small pencil like this, it can be anything. Okay, also we call it as tangible. And then if you see gestures, actions like hand flapping, rocking their body, okay, this is rocking back and forth, and then spinning the body like this in circles, okay, and you see it repeatedly, frequently, kerap kita nampak behavior seperti ini, dan dia berlanjutan untuk 3 bulan, 6 bulan, 8 bulan, okay, then that's an indication. They also have very unusual reaction to way things sound, okay, smell, taste, look, or feel. This one is sensory, okay, the way things di persekitaran dia. Some sounds are pleasing, very reinforcing. Some sounds are the opposite. Okay, they cannot take that sound. Same goes to smell. Some taste, okay, memang tak boleh. Kalau dah biasa makan biskut sahaja. Nak cuba makanan lain, memang tak boleh. Sebab dia dah sesuai ataupun dia dah serasi dengan taste. The taste bud is having difficulties to take changes. It's nothing wrong with the system. It's the issues that the child is going through, right? The child is not able to adapt to the changes, not the system. Okay, right. So only interact to achieve a desired goal. Okay, hanya berkomunikasi jika nak sesuatu. Nak susu, that's it. Nak makan. Okay, nasi. The child will only attempt to communicate, hanya berkomunikasi bila dia nak sesuatu, right? And then also have a very flat or inappropriate facial expression. Bila time menangis, ada yang akan gelak. Bila time gelak, ada yang akan menangis. Okay, kadang-kadang facial expression dia tak tally dengan situasi. Okay, this you can see very clearly in older children, 6 tahun, 7 tahun, boleh nampak. And then very active. Okay, hyperactivity. Aktif ni bukan aktif yang biasa-biasa, bukan aktif kenakalan. Memang seminit pun tak boleh duduk. Okay, all the time, on the go. Okay, right. Then impulsivity, acting without thinking. Okay, buat sesuatu tanpa berfikir. Okay, very terburu-buru and so on. And unusual eating and sleeping. Okay, unusual eating and sleeping means tak nak makan some types of food, and then always have sleep disturbs. Okay, very disturbed sleeping habit. Tak tidur untuk beberapa malam, ataupun malam susah nak tidur. Petang pun kadang-kadang tak tidur. Okay, very disturbed sleep pattern. Lack of fear or more fear than expected. Kadang-kadang sangat takut dengan sesuatu, nak naik tangga pun takut. Kadang-kadang langsung tak takut, boleh sentuh. Daring to sentuh api. Okay, daring to dive into swimming pool, not fear of height and so many things lah. And then okay, this one 19 I already spoke just now. Okay. So we will move on to developmental screening. Okay, I saw some of you in the Google form, you have asked about this developmental screening. Okay, so there are 3 types. See, one is the developmental monitoring, which is done by the parents and also teachers through the child growth milestones. Okay, boleh juga guna MChat. Okay, kadang-kadang di klinik doktor dan nurse pun akan tanya soalan-soalan yang berkaitan. That is monitoring. Okay, observe. Kita membuat pemerhatian terhadap perkembangan kanak-kanak tersebut. Secondly, andai kata ada nampak, okay, you see some delays, some significant delays, or it's a real delay, then we move on to developmental screening. Okay, whereby parents will be given a complete questionnaire about the child. We will be looking at taking a closer look at how the child is developing. Okay, the child will also get a brief test. If the child kalau dia boleh lah, kalau anak tu boleh ambil test, the child will be given some developmental test. Kalau tak boleh, parents yang akan buat lah. Parents will complete a questionnaire about their children. So basically this one will be done by the doctors, the clinicians. Okay, the pediatricians. The pediatrician might refer. Some pediatricians, they do the diagnosis. They have the clinical tools and so on. Some will refer to the clinical psychologist, and the clinical psychologist will do. Okay, basically secara asas fundamentally American Academy of Pediatrician, AAP, mereka suggest developmental and behavioral screening, okay, for all children during the regular visit must be done at these ages: 9 months, 11 months, 30 months. Okay, 9 months, 18 months, 30 months generally untuk semua jenis kelewatan perkembangan. Specifically untuk autism, 18 months, 24 months. Kemudian kalau nampak ada ciri-cirinya, okay, if the child is at high risk for ADHD, autism and so on, or there are past histories in the family where the sister is having autism, the brother is having autism, and also there's other family members with autism, then the behavior can sometimes be made much earlier than 18 months. Okay, and the third one is comprehensive developmental evaluation. Okay, yang ini lagi in depth. Okay, here is inilah masanya diagnosis akan dibuat, di mana anak anda akan diberi diagnosis sama ada dia autism atau dia ADHD atau dia multiple atau dia just a speech delay. Okay, by doing a comprehensive developmental evaluation yang selalunya akan dibuat oleh developmental pediatrician. Okay, kadang-kadang kita bawa kepada pediatrician, mereka akan refer kepada developmental pediatrician. Developmental pediatrician ini orang yang specialize in children with delays. Okay, They are also doctors, they are also pediatrician, but they have extra knowledge or extra training on children, about children with delays. And then child psychologist pun akan buat evaluation ini, speech and language pathologist akan buat evaluation ini, OT, occupational therapist akan buat, and also other specialists. Kenapa? Pelbagai pihak, sebab kita nak tengok, mereka akan tengok anak ni dari segi language and speech, berapa ketinggalan dia. Okay? Sebanyak mana ketinggalan dia. Dari segi sensory, motor development, sensory and perceptual, fine motor development, sebanyak mana, okay, ataupun kefungsian dia, executive functioning dia, sebanyak, how delayed the child is. The OT will be doing that kind of evaluation and so on. So the final diagnosis will be given by the through the comprehensive development evaluation. Okay, so some tools that is available for your own understanding: ages and stages questionnaire. This is available free in the internet. Okay, sebelum kita nak bawa anak pergi untuk doctor's diagnosis, boleh juga, okay, for your own satisfaction, to convince yourself if the child is delayed or not. Okay, parents can actually, teachers pun boleh guna, ya, not just for parents. Ages and stages questionnaire. Ages and stages ni according to the age and the stage. Okay, and then we have this MCHET, modified checklist for autism in toddlers. Okay, we also have this ACAT. ACAT ni, Autism Treatment Evaluation Checklist ini, very much precise or very focused on behavior symptoms. Okay, it is also free. Okay, very free. It is free, and it is dia punya results tu digital results. That means auto results. Kita dah rate. At the end of your session, you will be given, the system will email the result to you. Result will only say that whether the child is, the result will not say sama ada anak ni ada autism atau tak ada autism. Sebaliknya, it will say that if the child at risk of some kind of developmental delays or not, okay, to suggest you to go for more clinical assessment. And the fourth one is the tool that I developed, okay, along with other researchers. This is basically for teachers. Teachers who are in the early childhood education. Ini pun free. Type saja SingBest, ada di internet. Okay, tool ini pun available to everyone, to the teachers, to the parents also. You can use. At the end of the rating, this tool will actually give you a PDF report. Why? Because it will make the teacher's life a bit easier to explain to the parents. There's one question somebody asked, how to explain to parents who are in denial about the condition of children. Okay, when you are explaining to parents, you cannot just simply say that your child cannot talk, your child cannot sit at one place, your child is not doing this, your child is throwing tantrum. If you say things like this, definitely no parents will accept it. But instead, if you can give them a clear idea that according to the domains, what are the behaviors that you see as a teacher in the classroom the child is posing, then that will actually trigger the parents. That will actually make the parents think, okay, these are those behaviors we are also observing in the observing it at home. You see, so then if the parents ask, okay, macam mana cikgu boleh cakap anak ni sebab anak ni behave as such, dia ada delay, then the teacher will say, okay, saya dah observe dia dalam masa 3 bulan dan saya nampak perkelakuan ini berlanjutan, okay, persistent and sering berlaku, okay, kekerapan. And then the final one is by bahagian pendidikan khas. It is also free. Senarai semak perkembangan bayi dan kanak-kanak berumur daripada 0 hingga 6 tahun. It is free. All these are free. Ibu bapa boleh dapatkan semua ini di Google sebelum nak bawa anak pergi untuk diagnosis, atau dah diagnosis pun masih lagi ragu-ragu. You can go and clear your doubts to convince yourself to have a clear mind, okay, that is your child really having some kind of delays, or it's not delay actually. Okay, right. Okay, now we are entering into the second major section, that is why challenging behaviors are occurring. Just give me a second. Right. So when children experience, okay, delays, in terms of language, in terms of social and emotional communication, cognition. Okay, most of the time, most likely you may see challenging behaviors. Okay, again, how to differentiate whether challenging or not or typical behavior? Go back to the key points that I gave just now: persistence, frequency. Okay, every time refer. When you have doubt, refer to the key points I gave just now. Okay, the indication, the indicating points: persistent, frequency. Now, we all know that all behaviors occurs for a reason. All the behaviors, not just with children with delays, but also typical neurotypical people like us. Okay, each and every behavior of us, there's a reason. Sometimes the reason is clear, sometimes other times it is not so clear. Now, this function of behaviors, okay, it describes why the behavior occurs. Many times parents say, saya tak tahu kenapa dia berkelakuan sedemikian. I know why my child is behaving in such way. I don't know why. I don't know why, and I don't know what to do. Right? So why you are having these difficulties? Because we are not attempting to know why the behavior is occurring, but we are just looking at the behavior. Topography. Topography means what the behavior is. A behavior of dropping down to the floor, jatuhkan badan ke dalam ke bawah. Every time the teacher give a task, the child would drop the body to the floor. Okay? So, sebagai guru, sebagai ibu bapa, kita hanya nampak, okay, parent hanya nampak kelakuan jatuhkan badan. Tapi, kita tak pernah fikir kenapa kelakuan ini berlaku. Ada tak siapa-siapa pernah fikir why this behavior is happening? Okay? Contohnya, hit others, roll on the floor, shout, scream. We get so annoyed. Why? Okay, why you doing this? What? Why is he behaving in such way? But we never really attempt to understand or investigate or do a bit of observation to know why is he rolling on the floor every time I refuse something. Why is he dropping his body to the ground every time I give a task to do? Why the child shouts every time I take away something that he is so obsessed with? So understanding why the behavior may be happening is necessary in order for you to select a more appropriate behavior to replace. When there's a challenging behavior, you need to replace it with a appropriate behavior. For you to replace it with the appropriate behavior, you need to know at the first place why the behavior is happening. So, function of behavior means the reason why the behavior is occurring. So, there is always a underlying function, okay, that the behavior serves for them. Tak ada mana-mana kanak-kanak pun yang suka-suka untuk behave in such way. Same goes to adults. None of us would want to show a difficult behavior. When we are showing a difficult behavior as an adult, that means there's a reason to it, okay, towards it. Same goes to children. Okay, right. Now, bila kita kata functions of behavior, kenapa behavior itu berlaku? Kita nak tahu kan? Okay, there are 4 reasons for a behavior to occur. What are those? Escape, attention, tangible, and sensory. Escape means they escape from peers, escape from adults. Okay, attention, seeking attention from peers or seeking attention from adults. Tangible, items or activities that the child is obsessed with, okay, cannot let go, right? And then finally, the sensory part of the child, okay, maybe the setting, maybe the events. Now, let us look in depth what is escape. I don't want to do this. Some children, they have this challenging behavior because they want to escape from situations or some kind of task or certain people. Cikgu kot, cikgu ni tengok je muka dia, okay, anak tu tak nak. Okay, maka dia pun buatlah semua all kind of unwanted behaviors. Okay, why? Because I hate maths, and this teacher always come and give me, a pile of maths work and so on. Okay, let me give you some example. A very common, usual example that we face, maybe in school, maybe at home, and so on. A child throw food on the floor, and then mommy say dinner is over. So here, what the child learn, if I throw the food on the floor, that means I don't have to eat it. Already, I don't want to eat that fruit. So when I throw it on the floor, mommy say that's over, no more dinner for you. I'm very happy lah. I won. That's my purpose. Therefore, The adult in the situation reinforce the behavior and encourage the child to repeat. Tomorrow, the mummy give porridge. Porridge also I don't like. So I throw on the floor. The mummy will say, okay, bye-bye. No dinner for you. You starve. Actually, the mummy thinks that, or the teacher thinks that, okay, if it happens in school, the teacher thinks that that is a punishment. Actually, that's not a punishment. The child that's what the child wanted. So this a kind of escapism happens during difficult tasks. If the work is prolonged, okay, every time the child needs to do, contohnya penambahan, dia tak suka buat penambahan, tapi sebab cikgu rasa he is weak in addition, every time the teacher gives addition work, okay, so that repeated work lah. And then some kind of social demands, okay, be in this, maybe the child doesn't want to go to school, doesn't want to be in that place, okay, that's one question by the parents. My child doesn't want to go to school. Okay, why? Because the child want to escape from the routine or from whatever work that the school is giving, the routine that he has to follow in school. Maybe there's no adjustment. Okay, that's the reason the child wants to escape from that routine. And then maybe the child doesn't like some teachers in the classroom. Okay, based on how the teacher is approaching the child. So that will be with this person. Right. Next function of behavior is attention. I want attention. Sometimes they have challenging behavior. They engage in challenging behavior because they want to get attention from others. Maybe it could be their parents. It could be their siblings. It could be their teachers. They can be also their peers. So sometimes children may be looking for attention in any way possible. It could mean praise or even getting angry with them. So for example, mommy is over the phone, child cries. Whenever the mommy is over the phone, the child cries. Then the mommy yells, stop crying, I'm on the phone. So the child may learn that crying when you are on the phone will result in attempting from their parents. Okay, so another day when the mommy receives a call, the child will cry. See, so the child seeks for attention from who? From the people in his environment. Who are those people? It could be their parents, teachers, peers, siblings, or anyone. Okay. Now, tangible. Third reason for a child to misbehave, tangible. I want this. Okay. To receive a tangible item means a desired item or a desired activity like online games, TV, phone, smartphones, or certain types of food, toys, okay, and many more. So children goes up to their peers in school and then the child pushes them, and as a result the child gets the toy car. So children in this situation, they will learn that when I push others, this will result in gaining access. So child screaming and shouting, another situation, child screaming and shouting until the parents buy them a new toy. Take the child to a shopping complex. When the child wants a new toy, the child will scream and shout until the parents have got no choice. So embarrassed in the environment, everybody is looking and some are showing very annoying face. The parents will give in, okay, and end up buying the new toy. So what are some items that can cause tangible behavior? A toy, object, food, okay, an activity, or some kind of privilege. Privilege means every time the child done with something, you give a chocolate, for instance. Okay, so and the next time when you don't give the chocolate, then the child will throw tantrum over there. Okay, that what it means by privilege. And the last functions of behavior is sensory. This is something internal. Okay, it is something internally reinforcing. The other three is due to the environmental factor, but the fourth one is internal. So mostly children with ADHD, autism, GDD, okay, even the ones with visual impairment and hearing impairment, they have sensory issues. So it is very important to note that what the behavior looks like does not give the indication of its function. That means the child is not who or she is based on the behavior. The behavior cannot indicate the child. Okay, that's what I mean. Do not look at the behavior, but look at why the behavior is occurring. For example, the child is flapping his hand, and he may not be doing it because on purpose or what, but to meet the automatic need. Maybe the child is in a very stressful situation. Okay, just like us, right? We have to give a talk in a very big conference, in a very important conference. Maybe we might have, we might, this is, may not be new to us. We might have done it many times, but each time we want to give a talk, we will have this very unsettled feeling. Okay, so what we do, we will walk, we will take some, we will have a sip, we'll drink some water, we will do yoga to calm ourselves down and so on. That us, neurotypical people. But for people with issues, with delays, especially the ones with sensory issues, okay, they will show it in gestures like this. Okay, when they are in such situation or they are feeling as such. So rather, it depends on what happens after the behavior and when the behavior occurs. Where, okay, when the behavior occurs or what happened after the behavior and so on. For example, behaviors that serve as sensory function will occur in all environment. When the environment is too noisy, the child cannot filter the noise. Our typical development, we can filter, but the child cannot filter. So in such situation, the child will start showing some unwanted or unusual behavior in the environment. Okay, so it happens whether sometimes to reinforce, it gives a reinforcement, or the other way around. Okay, I'm going really fast. Now, you might ask me, okay, how to identify, how to know if my child, the functions of behavior of my child? It's a very good question. I may have briefed to you, explained to you the 4 functions of the behavior. Now, you also need to know how you can decide, or how you, for parents to know, or for teachers to know why the child is behaving in such way. Okay, there is a scale called motivation assessment scale. I have given the PDF link over here. Okay, this is by Mark Duran. He's a psychologist. This is a very, very handy tool for all teachers and parents. The items are very, very simple. I show you this, the sample of the tool. Okay, for example, look at the first question. Would the behavior occur continuously over and over? Think one behavior in your mind, like flapping the hand. Okay, you already have that behavior in your mind. Okay, my child is flapping the hand. I don't know what to do, or I don't know why is he doing. Now, keep that in your mind and you start rating the questionnaire. Okay, would the behavior occur continuously over and over if this person was left alone or long period of time? If the behavior of flapping the hand occur continuously, now based on this Likert scale, you answer the frequency: never, almost never, seldom, half the time. Okay, once you have done, there are about 16 questions over here. I have given you the simplest form of the scale. Okay, there's also an extended version of the scale. Okay, if you do not want to get confused with the extended version has about 40 questions if I'm not wrong. But okay, for the initial stage, I think you use this. Only got 16 questions. Okay, after you have rated all the questions, all the items, then just number. Okay, question number 1, what was your score? Yeah, if question number 1, your score was 4, then just write it down over here under the sensory category number 4. And then question number 5, what was your score? Just go by questions and score it. After that, you do a total score and then you divide. Okay, don't know how to divide mean, can also do it with your calculator. And then the mean will actually give you the relative ranking. Okay, you can actually YouTube also to see how the mean score is counted. Okay, you can actually Google up and see. Now, next is this one I gave you. Okay, I did it for you. This is a very simple behavior modification template. Okay, as I mentioned just now, this is a very big topic under positive behavior support. But I have, I have shrink it. I have modified it, and I'm just giving you the important ones. Okay, so this is a template I did. Very brief one: child name, child date, the behavior. After you have rated based on the rated the motivation assessment scale and you have obtained the results, now you need to know how to modify the behavior. Correct? Just now I told you, isn't it? Every challenging behavior must be replaced with the appropriate behavior. For that, you need to have at the beginning stage, you need to have this chart. Then you write down the kind of behavior. What is the behavior? Throwing tantrum, rolling on the floor, for instance. And then based on the motivation assessment scale, you would know the behavior is under, what's the function of the behavior? Is it escape? Is it tangible? Is it attention? Is it sensory? Sometimes it can be both, it can be more than two. Okay, see which one score higher. Okay, and then what the child is trying to communicate, what the child is trying to show you due to this behavior. After rating the motivation assessment scale, keeping in mind the behavior the child is showing, you will get the answer roughly why the child is actually showing such behavior, and then you will be able to think the intervention plan. Now, very quickly, I give you a few samples on the replacement behavior. Okay, this is not enough, I know, but just to give you some idea. For instance, the behavior is walking around, laughing, screaming. The function of the behavior is escape. What is the child trying to communicate? I don't want to do the math task. So the intervention, you know already the child doesn't want to do the math task. Now find out why. Is the task too difficult for him? Is it a lot? At a time you give about 20 questions, analyze on that first. Or is it too simple for him? Okay, or he doesn't understand what you're actually teaching him or how you taught him. He doesn't understand the process. Now you already found out, okay, the task is too many at a time, or the task is too difficult for him. The steps are too difficult, too many steps for the child to understand. Now what you can do, that is triggering the behavior. Now what you can do is break down the task or the steps of the task into shorter steps. Okay, and then give the child one at a time with individual instruction. Maybe in the first day, the child only does 10 minutes on step 1. Then a few hours later, the child continue to do step 2, okay, with observation for 10 minutes and so on. This is some intervention plan. Okay, second one, just now, mom is over the phone call. Teacher is attending, if it is in school, teacher is attending another child. The child want to seek attention, okay, and also want to escape from the task. Okay, in this situation, there could be two functions of behavior, that is attention and escape. So the child is making noise, showing some aggressive behaviors, then not sitting appropriately, trying to fall down, trying to, jatuhkan badan and so on. Okay, now what is the child trying to communicate? I want pure attention. I don't want to do this. So what the teacher can do? The teacher can actually, some samples, some ideas to intervene, to replace the behavior, to help the child to understand that what he or she is doing is not right. Videotape the behavior, okay, of himself or herself, okay, misbehaving, and also during the time the child behaves well, also videotape the behavior, and then you show the child the pleasing behavior, the unpleasing behavior. When to children, when you show things visually, they understand better than saying it verbally. Okay, when you're trying to redirect their behavior verbally, especially children with cognitive delays, language speech delays, they most of the time they don't understand our language. They don't understand what we are trying to say. But if you show them, their understanding is much better than telling them verbally. Okay. Now, some tips. That must be always, house rules or classroom rules, the do and the don'ts. And then when you already have those house rules or the classroom rules, be consistent in how you deal with your children. No means no, can means can. Okay. And then whenever the child possess good behaviors, praise them, reward them. Okay, and of course, don't refuse to tolerate troublemakers. Don't accept any misbehaves. Be consistent on that. You can also use timeout strategies. Timeout means bukan kurung anak di mana-mana. Kawan bukan asingkan murid di mana-mana tempat. Mungkin sediakan satu kerusi. Okay, have a quiet corner for the child to calm down. Later, you can call the child back and talk to him. At that time, you can show the videos. Okay, look what you have done just now. Why teacher asked you to go to the quiet corner? Okay, or show him the appropriate behavior last week. Okay, you were so good. Okay, this is how you was in the classroom. Look at it, how pleasing it is. Teacher want to see behaviors as such. Okay, another way is over the phone call just now. Parent can also choose to ignore the behavior. When the child knows that I have caught the attention of my mother or I have caught the attention of my teacher, that is so pleasing to him, that reinforces him to actually repeat the behavior tomorrow, the day after tomorrow, and on and on and on. Every time the mother and the teacher have to shout at the child, keep quiet, keep quiet, keep quiet. So instead, parents or teachers can also try to ignore the behavior if the behavior is disruptive, especially in the classroom. Okay, learning is going on, the child is walking about and disturbing and going here and going there. Instead of teacher, maybe teacher can try this strategy, ignore the behavior first and see how the child is reacting to it. Okay, sometimes when the child sees the teacher is not bothered, not paying attention, the child knows that my intention fails, so I better just sit and follow and things like that. And then we can also use verbal redirection. Okay, when the child is misbehaving, like calling their name. Okay, come here, help me. Okay, or help me please with this, to replace the behavior that the child is showing at that time. Can use privileges like teachers helpers, mummies helpers. Okay, I give you extra computer time when you behave well. Okay, you have behaved well in school today, you completed your task. Okay, you did not throw tantrum, you were so good, I give you extra computer time. I let you watch favorite book or during story time. This is what we call positive behavior support. Okay, giving privileges for every good behaviors, and set up incentive program. You can do it, you can have stickers, but avoid gifts and prizes. Okay, so when you start giving prizes or gifts, then it will register, it will plant in their mind, this will plant in their mind that every time I behave well, I get a gift from my teacher or my mother, I get a toy or something like that. Okay, so the behavior is driven by the factor of gift, not because the child understands he or she must behave as such. And finally, warn the consequences of the behavior. Remember, if you misbehave, you might lose your chance to watch your favorite video game at the end of the week. Warn the consequences, okay, so that the child will know, if I behave, I might lose that privilege. Okay, now final one, almost moving to the final one. Okay, what type of education is available for children with delays under government? Just now I showed you the categories, right? So we have 3 types of special education programs in Malaysia under the Ministry of Education government. We have special schools. Who goes to special schools? Children with visual impairment, and children with hearing impairment goes to special schools. So we have 34 special schools in Malaysia nationwide. And then we have this something called PPKI, Program Pendidikan Khas Integrasi. PPKI we have for preschools, primary and also secondary school. So these are all specific classes in the mainstream schools dedicated for special need children. And currently we have about over more than 2,600 mainstream schools under our government schools. And then the third one is inclusive education. Children who are high function, who are able to follow academic and they can behave well, okay, they will be given a chance to be learning in the mainstream classes, following the mainstream syllabus with their other typical friends. So basically the schooling year, okay, we have about 14 years children can be in the primary school. This is for the special needs. Children can be in the primary school for 14 years if the regular school term is up to 12 years old. For the children with special needs, they are allowed to be in the primary school for 14 years, depending on the severity of their disability. If they are able to cope up, then by 12 years old, we will be sending them to secondary PPKI schools. Okay, and basically, compared to the typical ones, overall, children with special needs can stay in school up to 21 years old, including the upper 6 and lower 6. If you look at the Form 5, they can take Form 5 maximum at 19 years old. So this is basically a little bit about the schooling period. Okay, we also have some in the private. Okay, there are a lot, many. Okay, I'm unable to list down all the schools, but these are some that I got it while searching in the net just now. NASOM, definitely. Okay, NASOM is specifically for autism. And then we also have Einstein Special Needs Education it's a center in Subang Jaya. They take all category of developmental delays except visual and hearing. And then we have kids for kids special schools. Okay, yes, also this one targeted for learning skills, cognitive delays. Okay, regardless of the category of the children. That means they also take in Down syndrome. Okay, apart from autism and so on. Okay, we have Tarana Special Needs School in PJ, also for all sorts of developmental delay category. We have Think Enrichment Center in Kuala Lumpur. We have Nexus International School in KL. Nexus is a school, but they accept inclusion. They do inclusion. That means they accept children with special needs to be integrated in their mainstream classes. Nexus is not a special needs school. And then the final option is if your child or if some parents feels that, okay, I don't want to enroll my child in any of this, then they might also go for homeschooling. That means homeschooling means either the parents, one of the parents have the qualification to teach the child at home. They have the syllabus, whatever, then have to have to report to the local Jabatan Pendidikan Negeri. The Jabatan Pendidikan Negeri will inform KPM, then you need to get the approval from the KPM because you are away from the national school. And then there will be some procedures for you to fulfill. Then the JPN will let you know whether they give the approval for you to conduct the homeschooling. Or sometimes the parents can also engage tutors from outside to come over to their house to conduct the homeschooling. Okay. And then under government, we have this Genius Kurnia. This is by KPM specifically for autism. Okay, we also have Pusat Dalam Community. One of the parent, I don't know whether parent or teacher, I saw in the Google form have asked, di mana saya nak hantar anak saya, adakah apa-apa pusat di bawah kerajaan yang saya boleh hantar anak saya yang ada di bawah kategori sindrom Down. Okay, Pusat Dalam Community menerima kanak-kanak, ia adalah di bawah JKM, Jabatan Kebajikan Masyarakat, menerima anak yang ada kelewatan perkembangan pelbagai kategori termasuk Down syndrome. And then you can also consider program pendidikan khas integrasi also under KPM, it's under government. Bermula ada prasekolah, ada primary and also ada secondary. And finally, the inclusive education lah. If our children are able to cope up, then they can go to inclusive education through the PPKI. Okay, so this is some extra resources for you. This is my YouTube page. Okay, I have the link there. I have over 40 videos over here on teaching aids and teaching methods for children with special needs. Okay, basically terutama sekali untuk address intellectual, okay, untuk pengajaran. Dia tak mengikut mana-mana kategori. It applies to all the category under the learning and teaching or teaching and learning. Ada pelbagai different types of teaching aids yang mana ibu bapa dan guru boleh buat sendiri, usahakan sendiri. Teaching aid itu simple saja dengan barang-barang yang ada di sekeliling kita, and then macam mana nak gunakan teaching aid itu dan ajar anak kita. Okay, so you can go through that. Besides that, you can also follow me on my FB page. Okay, I will be usually sharing a lot of teaching methods, teaching ideas, pedagogical information, for older children, parents who have older children, that means above 10 years old, what other entrepreneurship activities that parents can actually introduce to your older children. So I also have ideas on that. So boleh follow lah. Okay. So with that, I have come to the end of the presentation. Kalau ada apa-apa soalan, boleh tanya. Okay. Did I go over the time?
Nah, it's okay. Hi. Okay, so thank you so much for that. I think it was really, really informative. I am not a parent myself, but I think I learned so much that because I'm a school teacher myself and I didn't know that there's all this available material online and accessible. So thank you so much. Before we proceed, there are a few questions that were raised in the Google form that we sent out. So I'll read out some of the questions, then you can address them. The first one is, my 6-year-old autistic child verbal and high functioning, refuses to go to school. It has been 2 years since he developed this behavior. He also avoids all activities related to academic and formal education. I did some research and reading on this matter, and I found out about pathological demand avoidance, PDA. Based on my reading, my son shows some of the many characteristics. How should I deal with this problem? How can I encourage him to learn and go to school? Every time I try to teach him, play-based or conventional, he gives many excuses, walks away from activities, lays down on the floor, and so on. Should I just homeschool him? Thank you in advance. And there was another question that's very similar. Earlier you mentioned about children not wanting to go to school because it's escaping. So somebody asked in the chat, how do we deal with this kind of situation?
Okay, so I think partially I have answered this question, that is the functions of behavior. Okay, before this, you may not know why the child is behaving in such a way. The PDA stuff, I cannot comment because I really don't know. I have no knowledge on that. Something new, I would also go and read about it. But basically, we are looking at the behavior, why the behavior is occurring, what is the behavior and why the behavior is occurring. So as a parent, what you can do now, you already have the knowledge about the functions of behavior. Now you got to know, you go through the assessment, motivation assessment scale, and under each items, all those items actually helps you to figure out why the child is behaving. Some of the reasons could be the task. Okay, the lessons could be, you got to investigate. The person who have asked that question, I believe she's a mummy. Mummy need to investigate what is happening at school. Talk to their teachers. Okay, after you have rated the MAS, the motivation assessment scale, you will get some idea. Based on that idea, pick up some of the items and talk to the teachers. He doesn't want to come to school. Okay, what is happening in school? How is he in school? Okay, how is he behaving in school? Okay, is he behaving as same as how he's behaving to the mother at home? Okay, or same in the school also? Okay, if yes, when? Which subject? Okay, if math subject, for instance, how long? How many times? How frequent? Okay, can I know how the teacher, if you're allowed to ask, so many questions to schools, can I know, what type of practices or what type of worksheets, what is happening during the maths class? Can I have a word with the class teacher, with the maths teacher, for instance? So you cannot figure out the intervention, the behavior, the replacement behavior for this until you investigate what is triggering him not to go to school. Okay, so I cannot say what would be the reason. It could be many reasons. Okay, it could be the environment, it could be the teacher, it could be the task the teacher is giving. Okay, it could be something that, since the mummy is saying that he's very high function and verbal, maybe the task is too simple for him, because in a classroom, teachers need to cater to all children, right? So maybe she's giving something general, not something differentiated. Maybe he's not getting the differentiated instruction. So what he gets, general worksheets that he gets, which applies to all the other children, maybe it is too simple for him. Sometimes when they are bored, they don't want to go to school. There's nothing exciting in school. So I would rather stay at home. This could be some of the reasons. So to find the right solution for this situation, okay, you need to know the root cause, whereby go back to the motivation assessment scale, find out the functions of the behavior, based on the items, ask questions to the teachers. Like for instance, how frequently the behavior occurs, when is the behavior occurring, go through the items. The items clearly will give you why the behavior is occurring. Okay, right. So I think I answered both the questions.
Yeah, okay, thank you. The next one is, how long does it take to overcome speech delay?
Okay, this one, I cannot tell definitely how long. It all depends on how severe the condition of the child. Okay, how severely, how much the child is delayed in terms of language and communication. But however delayed the child is, also with the right intervention, consistent intervention, okay, we can speed up the progress. Okay, we can see the improvement besides sending the child for speech therapy and so on. Okay, when we want the child to speak faster, when we want the child to understand, you see, communication, understanding comes first, then comes communication. Okay, understanding comes first, Okay, then communication comes first, then comes the language. Sorry, right? So what I mean by communication can be verbal, can be non-verbal. Even if the child is communicating non-verbal, that is also a type of communication. So communication comes first. But what we all do, we only emphasize on the language. My child is not speaking, not speaking, not speaking, not speaking. Okay, we are only focusing on the language, on vocabulary, on bahasa. But we are not concentrating on the communication, interaction. So ibu bapa pun boleh bantu anak-anak dari aspek interaksi di rumah dengan menggunakan strategi-strategi main. Play with the child. Every moment is a teachable moment. Berada di dapur, include the child in the dapur. Have conversation. Let the child involve with whatever task that you are doing. Folding clothes. Allow the child to be a part of that, of that activity. It's not necessarily that you need to plan something and have it on table task and do it. Okay, so that's what I mean. Every moment is a teachable moment. So depends on how involved you are, how much of how well we are giving the intervention to the child. Yeah.
Okay, wow, very interesting. The next one, how can I control an emotionally disturbed child? There's an example given. A 7-year-old boy is too attached to cartoon on television. He talks to himself about the cartoon. He behaves as one from the cartoon world. Gets really pissed and annoyed if he doesn't watch the cartoon. Before sleeping also, he recites the dialogue. The cartoon that he watches is Transformers.
Okay, this is tangible. The child is so obsessed with that, right? The child is so obsessed with the cartoon. The child is deeply involved in that world. Okay, one thing, these gadgets, television, they don't have two-way interaction. They just scream, right? They'll be running and running and running. There's no interaction. Children get very obsessed with all that. And then they think that that's the world. They imagine that that cartoon character is themselves. So they imitate, they behave. Okay, they become tangible. Now this one basically comes back to the house rule. Whatever that you do at home, you must have a rule. This time to this time, you watch TV. This time to this time, you complete your homework. This time to this time, it's your dinner. Then it's your homework. All of us, isn't it? We need to be very clear with the house rules. But if you allow, that's why every new things that you introduce to your child, your phone, gadgets, it's not wrong. I'm not saying that it's wrong to introduce gadgets, to introduce electronic stuff to children, but you need to be very clear on the usage of the gadget. Okay, you want to watch the movie or the cartoon, how long you are allowed to do so. Why? Because that to avoid children getting obsessed. This is very common for children with autism, especially. They get very obsessed. They get very, easily attached to gadget-based, technology-based tools. So for that, you need to limit. You need to have a time limitation. Of course, now it's going to be a little bit difficult because your child have become very, very convenient and very used to that routine. Okay, he watches from the question, she says that mommy says that he watches all day. Now it's your task is to put a stop to it. Okay, of course it's going to be very difficult. Come up with a visual timetable, jadual visual. Okay, look, jadual visual means just like our timetable, but our timetables is written in words. But this visual timetable, there will be some pictures. Morning, bangun pagi, apa kena buat? Okay, ada gambar. Bangun pagi kena mandi kan? Ada gambar. Lepas mandi, apa you punya tugas? Okay, katalah sarapan. Okay, letak gambar sarapan. After sarapan, maybe table task, study time. Okay, that's your study table. Then I let you watch TV. Maybe if the cartoon has got many slots, okay, I let you watch only one slot. That's it for the day. It's going to be very difficult at the initial stage, but if you practice this, do not give up, consistent. Cuba untuk 1 minggu, percayalah anak akan lupa. And then you will see a lot of changes in his behavior, okay, especially in his verbal expression and so many things. Of course, you have to do a lot of things lah, a lot of other things to redirect that behavior. But first and foremost, now for time being, break the routine. Break the routine of him watching the show continuously throughout the day. For that, use the visual jadwal. You don't know how to do the visual jadwal, visual timetable, Google up. There's a lot of samples in the internet. You can just, take one of it and try out.
Okay. Thank you so much. The next one is, may I know the teaching methods for children with learning difficulties?
There are many types of teaching methods. Okay, basically, whatever that you teach, incorporate visuals into it. Ada banyak gambar. Okay. Kalau nak ajar tentang pengurusan diri, something like this. Okay, this is called teach. T-E-A-C-C-H. Google up for teach. T-E-A-C-C-H. Okay, you can find this type of, I don't know whether you can see or not. This is to teach children on toilet independency. This is something called teach. The materials that they use under the teach methodology. Okay. Secondly, you can have files like this, visual files. In this file, okay, in this file, this is also teacher. This is to address learning, cognitive. There are plenty. There are so many. One of the sample. Okay, in this assignment, I want to teach the child 3-letter words, for instance. So I have the words here and I have the pictures over here. So a lot, if you notice, a lot of strategies for teaching children with cognitive delays like autism and so many other categories under learning difficulties. They uses a lot of pictures. Okay, so the materials can be found. Just Google up teach. You will find a lot of printed materials for free. You can use up. Of course, I cannot comprise all the information here, but this is some I can give you, and you can go and look up for it.
We will also share this information in the email when we send out with together with these slides as well. The next question is, I would like to know more about the development of children with dyslexia.
Okay, I can't say much about dyslexia because I'm not the expert for children with dyslexia. Dyslexia comes under the category of specific learning disabilities. But what I can say is they have a separate assessment whereby only a person expert in the dyslexia. Saya rasa Persatuan Dyslexia Malaysia, mereka memang buat assessment untuk kanak-kanak dyslexia, dyscalculia, dysgraphia dan sebagainya, dan mereka saja yang boleh bagi tahu sama ada anak ini ada ketidakupayaan, okay, delays or the child is a child with dyslexia and so on. Okay, basically they have issues with reading difficulties, recognizing numbers, recognizing letters. Some of the letters they recognize in a mirrored form and so on. Okay, so that one, that only that much I can talk about dyslexia because I'm not the expert of that area, right?
Okay, thank you for this question though. We will look into doing one session for dyslexic kids specifically. The last one is, where do we buy the books that you have written? Somebody asked this in the chat. Are the books for sale? If yes, where can they buy them from?
Okay, that book is actually authored by me and illustrated by my special needs students. We gathered all those students who are very talented in art, drawing. So, and we made them illustrate the characters in the books, and I authored the books. So, at the end of my slide just now, I mentioned about my page, my Facebook account. Just follow me there. Every now and then, I used to share about information about these books. Otherwise, I will also send the information to the admin of BIMBING. Maybe they can also share it in the email. Okay, just call me, just contact me, just WhatsApp me. I'll be able to assist, or just follow me in my Facebook.
Okay, thank you. We just got another question. How do parents go through the stigma of their child being identified as a special needs child?
Okay. So it's all depends on the individual, right? I think society, I think you should not have the stigma, because our society is more aware now compared to 10, 20 years ago. We are doing a lot of awareness programs. We are including people who are not from the, who doesn't have children with special needs. Okay, people, our masyarakat lah, our society, they know. Okay, so instead of we feeling of this, we having this stigmatized mind, it's better that we accept the situation. Of course, acceptance doesn't come in a day; it comes in waves. But if it is severe, then get some counseling. Talk to people. Yeah, another way is get yourself engaged in support groups. Okay, not just simply a support group that is not functioning well. A support group that can actually empower you as a parent. Okay, a place where you can actually share your feelings, your thoughts, your difficulties, the current situation that you're going through. So another person can actually give you some ideas on how to tackle the issue that you're going through, how to solve your problem. Sometimes not just a solution, but just some words of comfort and so on. So I would say to how do I say, to have a better positive mind, okay, go get some support from other parents who are in the same boat.
There's another one in the chat that says, how do I improve the eye contact to my child?
Okay, to improve eye contact, that's one very effective activity called lazy eye. Okay, just go to my YouTube. Okay, I have actually videotaped that. Lazy eyes, lazy age, not lazy eyes, lazy age, like that. Okay, you can do it. I have showed how to do it. This improves on right and left brain connectivity, and also improve focus, attention, and eye contact of the child. Okay, there's no any other way that you can improve eye contact of the child other than doing activities like this. Okay, it's basically lazy 8. Just go, even if you don't want to go to my YouTube and watch the video, you can actually just Google up and see lazy 8. Okay, and there's a lot of templates also. We also have a lazy 8 learning material, okay, made of wood. I have it, but it's not in my room now. Okay, I can't show it to you. So that's one way to improve eye contact. Another way is doing a lot of fine motor skills activities like trading. Okay, like trading, building blocks, Legos, building blocks. These are all some good activities to improve eye contact of children.
Okay, thank you so much. I think that's about all that we have for now, and it's already 10 o'clock. We told everyone 9:30. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining us for this event on Saturday night. I think it's a very, very informative event. Thank you so much, Doctor, for sharing this with us and sharing your knowledge. And I love listening to you. Any question that is thrown at you, and like you have the answers on your fingertips, and I think it's really, really amazing. Just before we go, I would like to share a little bit about our upcoming event. So we have 2 upcoming events happening next month. The first one is the first one is exploring the history and culture of the Orang Asli, happening on the 8th of July. And please do join us. And another one is by BIMBING itself. We are having another talk end of July. So do follow us on our social media accounts called Official BIMBING and Official GBSM. We are on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter because our posters will be there, and we would love to have you join us for these sessions as well. We are also looking for volunteers. We are a fairly new group, and if you are interested to join us, please do reach out. We are looking for leaders, mentors, speakers, influencers, volunteers, coordinators. Any small thing that you can help us with would benefit. We are an NGO, and we are doing this in our free time. So please do join us, and thank you very much for joining us today, and hope you have a great day.